Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. St. Lucia's Ministry of Health urges mask wearing as new Omicron subvariant emerges. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Wednesday, 11th January 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Health in St. Lucia is recommending a return to mask wearing, practicing proper hygiene and vaccination following reports of the emergence of a new subvariant of the Omicron version of the COVID-19 virus. While the new variant has not been detected on island, there is no data to suggest it makes people sicker than previous subvariants. The assurance comes in response to widely circulated misinformation about the new subvariant. Jason Darius of the DBS News World reports.
A new version of Omicron is on the rise, according to the most recent data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The subvariant of Omicron, named XBB 1.5, has raised concerns about another potential wave of COVID cases following the busy holiday travel season. St. Lucia's Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, in addressing misinformation surrounding the new subvariant, issued a press statement on the morning of January 5th.
The XBB variant, which has been in circulation since mid to late 2022, is a recombinant subvariant. This means that it originated from the joining of two different Omicron variants. As is expected, this new manner of evolution of a subvariant has raised several concerns about potential changes in characteristics, including severity, immune evasion, and transmissibility. As of December 21, 2022, the World Health Organization indicated that current evidence does not suggest increased severity associated with the XBB subvariant compared to previous Omicron lineages. In fact, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, despite the increased COVID-19 hospitalizations, the areas with highest rates of this new variant have not experienced a disproportionate increase in cases or hospitalizations.
In late 2022, the World Health Organization warned that given the waning immune response from previous waves of Omicron infection, combined with the evolution of Omicron variants, there was a high probability of increased reinfections. National epidemiologist Dr. Michel Francois reveals that the reach of the XBB subvariant has been widespread and encourages everyone to take the necessary precautions to minimize the chances of infection.
Currently, the XBB 1.5 is considered the dominant subvariant in the United States, accounting for almost 40% of confirmed cases in that country. The XBB has also been documented in over 70 countries worldwide, resulting in COVID-19 spikes in these countries. Early evidence suggests that the XBB subvariant may possess an increased risk of reinfection compared to other Omicron subvariants. Fortunately, vaccination is still considered the most effective measure in preventing the severe form of COVID-19, even against this new subvariant.
To date, there have been no confirmed cases of the XBB subvariant here on the island. However, the Health Ministry does advise that COVID-19 vaccines and boosters are available at wellness centers around the island. Mask wearing, hand hygiene, and avoiding others when you are ill will also reduce transmission to others. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs says it will continue to provide updates on this new COVID-19 subvariant. For the TBS News World, Jason Darius reporting.
Did you know it could be...
Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is defending government's decision to nominate President of the Senate, Christine Kangaloo, as the next President of Trinidad and Tobago. At a media conference on Monday last, Dr. Rowley said the nomination has been officially submitted to the Parliament. TTT News has salient details.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar believes that a candidate for president without a political affiliation is needed. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley referred to Section 24 of the Constitution to defend the government's decision to nominate Senate President Christine Kangaloo. It states that where a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives is elected as president, his seat in the Senate or the House of Representatives, respectively, shall thereupon become vacant.
This means, in simple English, that the framers of this Constitution, the Constitution which I swear to uphold before I can enter into this office as Prime Minister, is that it is anticipated and it makes provision for a member of the House or the Senate to be considered, to qualify to be elected and to be voted into office as president in this country.
He said it would be difficult to find a country where a democratically elected president doesn't have a political background.
In the meeting I had with the opposition, I did tell them that before the government came to a conclusion, we did look, and the way I put it, we did look from seizures to Charlottesville, from Sangre to Carnage, to see who were the people that we could consider to approach. And we did that. And we believe that we came up with what is in effect a good choice.
When asked about the opposition's pick of Israel Khan as a candidate, Dr. Rowley had this to say.
Israel Khan has been in a number of political parties, the ONR, the NAR, and I dare say he has been a UNC activist. Israel Khan has been very outspoken in abusing me publicly, and PNM and others. And therefore, I think that's a good pick from Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
He reminded of the nomination of the former president A.N.R. Robinson in 1997 by the UNC. The Prime Minister said at that time, Mr. Robinson was a sitting member of the cabinet and was the leader of a political party which had formed part of the government. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TTT News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Political analyst Dr. Bishnu Raghunath weighs in on the latest debate between the government and opposition on who should be the next president. He says it's a matter of where we're going and how fast. TV6's Nicole M. Romani has that story.
Senate President Christine Kangaloo is poised to be the country's next head of state, having been selected by the government, which has a majority in the parliament. Attorney Senior Counsel Israel Khan is the opposition UNC's choice. Political analyst Dr. Bishnu Raghunath says he only hopes that if elected, Ms. Kangaloo would be impartial in the performance of her duties.
We don't know how she will actually perform. And for all intents and purposes, she could be probably one of the most fair, unbiased persons sitting in the office. We don't know, and we could only hope and pray that her character and her humility and everything else that she carries herself with will be one which will allow her to separate herself politically and seek the best interests in the governance of Trinidad and Tobago.
He also stresses the need for unity in the country amid what he says are deep divisions and too much bitterness, even from all leaders.
Members of the executive in the PNN, when they speak about the opposition, it's with I go back to Prime Minister Manning when he spoke about Keith Rowley, and you've seen with hate and all of these other things, and that's all you get in. Likewise, from the opposition, you listen to some of them, and there's this amount of hate and everything that you. So where are we going?
He adds that the former president, A.N.R. Robinson, forced the people to read the Constitution and understand the powers of the president and the prime minister.
So, in a way, I would hope that the president will not simply be that rubber stamp, will not be that ceremonial leader, but rather would provide leadership.
The term of President Paul Weeks comes to an end on March 20th. The Electoral College meets on January 20th to elect his successor. Nicole M. Romani, TV6 News.
Meantime, Dr. Keith Rowley is urging the population to work with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to curb crime. More in this TTT News item.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley is urging the population to work with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service to curb crime. Speaking at a media conference on Monday, the Prime Minister said while all arms of the state must respond to curb crime, he called on the population to stop protecting criminals. He was asked to address the murders for the year thus far and the recent Sangre Grande murders on Sunday, which resulted in the shooting of 6-year-old Kylie Maloney.
Appeal to the public. If you know something, say something. The police are not magicians. Many people know who is doing what and what is going on. You could save a life. You could save this country by giving up those who have taken it upon themselves to live the life at the end of an AR-15. Those boys who are doing that, they have mothers, they have uncles, they have brothers, they have friends, they have cousins. If you know something, do the country a favor and stop protecting these criminals.
He said we must be concerned about the prevalence of guns and ammunition in this country.
I don't know if you're noticing that frequently in recent times, the bulk of those killings or the breaking through of doors involve firearms of the heavier types, the ones which came on the scene in not too distant past. And we're now seeing at crime scenes where more than one person is being hurt or killed, the prevalence of ammunition that was at one time very scarce in this country.
Venezuela's opposition appoints 3 exiled Venezuelan lawmakers to direct it and create a commission to control foreign assets. More from Tiana Cole of HGP Nightly News.
We now turn our attention to news coming out of Venezuela. Venezuela's opposition National Assembly on Thursday appointed 3 exile lawmakers to direct it and create a commission to control foreign assets, including oil-refined Citgo Petroleum. The Assembly voted last week to remove Juan Guaido, the public face of the fractious opposition since 2019, as its interim president. The United States and other governments had backed Guaido after deeming the 2018 re-election of President Nicolas Maduro as fraudulent. Legislators who backed ending the interim government say their control of foreign assets is not at risk, despite warnings from Guaido and others, and the dissolution was necessary for unity ahead of the presidential election scheduled for 2024. The new leadership triumvirate is Assembly President Denora Figueira and Vice President Marinali Fernandez and Estrella Marquez, from opposition parties Justice First in New Era and Democratic Action, respectively. The new leadership will designate a 5-member commission to manage foreign assets like Citgo, a subsidiary of state-owned oil company PDVSA. Venezuela owes more than $60 billion to creditors. Citgo, which was on track for a $2.5 billion profit in 2022, could face supervisory board shakeups and other changes under the new commission.
Mexico's drug lord El Chapo's son has been arrested, sparking riots in the area he's from in Mexico.
Mexican security forces on Thursday captured drug cartel leader Ovidio Guzman, the son of jail kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, ahead of a visit by U.S. President Joe Biden next week. This comes 3 years after a failed operation to detain Ovidio ended in humiliation for the government of President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. The arrest triggered a wave of violence that forced authorities to shutter airports and schools in the city of Culiacan. Videos shared on social media appeared to show heavy fighting overnight in Culiacan, the main city in the northern state of Sinaloa, with the sky lit up by helicopters gunfire. The Sinaloa state government said 3 members of the security forces had been killed in the clashes. Ovidio, who has become a key figure in the cartel since the arrest of his father, was briefly detained in 2019 but was quickly released to end violent retribution in Colacan from his cartel. The incident was an embarrassing setback for the government of Lopez Obrador. His latest capture comes before a North American Leaders Summit in Mexico City next week, which U.S. President Joe Biden will attend and at which security issues are on the agenda. The United States had offered a $5 million reward for information leading to the arrest or conviction of Ovidio. It's not yet clear whether Ovidio will be extradited to the United States like his father, who is serving a life sentence at the Colorado Supermax, the most secure U.S. federal prison. Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard said any extradition would have to follow formal processes and would not be immediate. The cartel is one of the world's most powerful narcotics trafficking organizations. Local government urged people to stay indoors and said schools and administrative offices were closed due to the violence. Street blockades had also been erected. Joaquin Guzman, 65, was convicted in New York in 2019 for trafficking billions of dollars of drugs to the United States and conspiring to murder enemies.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at HubbardsHardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.